Thing. I love it when I have been working with clients who maybe aren't of the same faith, and I will get a word of knowledge for them, and I'll ask them, like, "Do you think it could be this?" And they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly what it was." And then I get goosebumps because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like God is working through me to help these women." And that's just so amazing. Like, I think it's beautiful that our mess can become our message, and something that was so hard and painful for us can be something that we can use to help other people.
Welcome to the Branches in Business Show. Our mission is to encourage Christian business owners with inspirational and motivational stories and to equip them with simple online marketing strategies so they can take action toward reaching more people with the message and the solutions God has given them to share. If discouragement and overwhelm have been holding you back from sharing what you've been given online, that stops here, my friend. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and join us inside the Branches in Business Facebook group for networking opportunities, accountability, and special workshops. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Branches in Business Show. Today I have with me Melissa Rohlfs, and Melissa, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Sarah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to learn about your business and how you have been serving women in the online marketplace with the journey that you've been on, with what you've learned on your personal food freedom journey. Tell us a little bit about your business and how it got started.
Yeah, so I'm a holistic health and life coach, and I help teen girls and women find freedom from the struggle with food. And this was born out of my own journey and my own struggle and my own, I guess, situation I didn't know that I had. I mean, part of my story is that I started hiding food in my room when I was 8. I was a little girl and used Pop-Tarts and cookies and candy to try to make myself feel better. And that carried throughout high school and into college and into getting married and having kids. And finally, it was like, okay, this needs to change. This isn't working for me. This isn't working for my family. And so through that journey, decided to go to school and help other women who were where I was.
That is wonderful. And that is something that it seems to be so prevalent in our society, coming up against women and especially busy women.
Mhm.
We run into that so often, and it becomes this thing that just takes over our mindset, and it's crazy. And you said you were inspired because this was something that you dealt with and had to overcome yourself, right?
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So how do you help these women when they come into your circle? um, they go into your Facebook group, they listen to your podcast, they read your book. Tell us a little bit about how that journey looks for them.
Yeah, like you said, they come in one of those ways or they get to know me through that. And then I share my story. And I think a big thing is just sharing where I was because I think that's important. I think that in order to serve and help somebody, they need to know your come from. Like I'm always more comfortable working with people who are where I was, who get that, who relate, who resonate, who were there and who have come out on the other side because that's what we want, right? Like if we're struggling with something, we want somebody who's where we are at the time but came out on where we want to be. And so it's really just being honest and vulnerable and transparent and sharing that and then inviting them to work with me if they choose. And that's a little bit of the journey.
Awesome. So how have you seen God's hand at work in your life and business as a Christian business owner?
Yeah, I've seen it so many ways. Like I feel like there are so many days where I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know what to post. And he'll just like give me the inspiration. He'll tell me what to say. He will show me who to serve. He will bring the right client at the right time who's struggling with something. I love it when I have been working with clients who maybe aren't of the same faith, and I will get a word of knowledge for them, and I'll ask them, like, do you think it could be this? And they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what it was. And then I get goosebumps because I'm like, oh my gosh, like God is working through me to help these women. And that's just so amazing. Like, I think it's beautiful that our mess can become our message, and something that was so hard and painful for us can be something that we can use to help other people. And so I love that. I love to see him do that.
That's amazing. And you're bridging that gap between maybe those women who haven't developed faith yet and they're getting to experience the goodness of God, maybe even be introduced to Him through you. And they're seeing that in their interactions with you. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and I struggled with that initially because it was like, I'm a Christian. Like I'm very vocal about that in my, personal social media, and people know that's a part of me. So do I market myself as a Christian coach and only serve Christian women? And I felt like God was like, no, you need to serve them all. And so don't do that right now. Maybe it will be something he asks me to eventually, but I feel very called to be just open as like obviously myself as a Christian, but not just focus on Christian women.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're reaching those women. I mean, that's fulfillment of the Great Commission. We're going and telling, and even though you're speaking to them about food freedom, about weight loss, about overcoming these struggles with food that they're having, they can see your faith in that. They're going to see how your faith played a role in your journey.
Absolutely. And I think I try to be open about that. So that's
Yeah.
good.
You do a great job of being open about that and listening to your podcast and reading your Facebook post. I think it's very evident that God was such a the huge part of your story of overcoming that food struggle.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some of you mentioned kind of struggling with that at the beginning of like, do I market mainly to Christian women? Do
Mhm.
I share my faith? Do I not? Some of the things, maybe the practical and the spiritual things that you've been faced with as you've been running an online business, and how the Lord has brought you through that so that you can show up as who you are in Christ online.
There's been a lot. I mean, I think the hardest thing is for me when I first got started, it was like, I don't know who I'm helping or how I'm helping. Like, I have this story, I have this transformation, and I kept hearing the advice of what do people come to you for? And the answer to that was weight loss. But then I was like, but do I want to help women with just that? Like, that is a piece of my story, yes, but it's not the whole story. Like, it's so much more than that. And so for a long time, I struggled with how am I helping them? What am I helping them with? How do I say it in their terms so that they understand instead of me using coach talk? And really, I think the messaging and the marketing was the hardest piece for me. And it was really easy to get discouraged and give up and feel like I wanted to quit. But God was like, no, you keep pressing on. I've called you to this. And just really like letting him guide me to the right place. And I think too, it's lonely sometimes when you're an online entrepreneur and you're, typing away all day at your house or you're doing whatever, like it can get lonely and isolating. And so I think doing, podcasts and connecting with other business owners has been great. I think going in Facebook groups and finding other like-minded business owners has been really helpful too, because it's lonely and it can be hard and it can bring up a lot of insecurity if we're really honest.
It does. It does. And that's a huge reason why I wanted to even start the Branches of Business show was I found myself when I was putting off putting out that content or when I was putting off making that post, it was because I was feeling discouraged. It was because I had gotten into that realm of isolation and, oh, this is only me. I'm the only one struggling with this and everyone else is just having this easy time. Um, so having that encouragement that other people are going through that too, I know is helpful to others who are running an online business with the Lord at the lead and trying to glorify him in what they do. But you're right. It's so isolating. It can be lonely. And often the people in our real lives, this is such a specific business, the people in our real lives may not really relate to some of the challenges that we encounter.
Totally. And they don't know like the marketing and the copy and finding your ideal client and like they don't know any of that. So like for me, I would go to my husband and I'd be like, this is what happened and I'm frustrated. And he was like, well, maybe you shouldn't keep doing it. And I'm like, no, I need to hear. Like,
Yes, yes. I can't tell you how many times me and my husband have had those teary-eyed conversations. It
yes,
always happens at Buffalo Wild Wings too. I think I'm known at Buffalo Wild Wings as the lady who cries in the booth
right.
because we never fail. Like we'll have a conversation about business and I'll end up crying because he's like, "You don't have to do it if you don't want to," and I'm like, "Yes, I do. God is
Yep.
telling me to it." Oh, I love it. I'm so glad I'm not the only one.
You're not. You're not. And I think we need to talk about it so other people know they're not alone. So thank you for
Yes.
doing that.
Yes, and my husband, like, if he talks to me about his day in the cabinet shop, I have no clue what he's talking about
Right.
either.
Right.
It's so specific to his work. It's very hard for me to understand, even with the explanation. I'm like, sure, honey, that's great. But that's true. And we do have to have so much support from community, support from other believers,
prayer behind the scenes. Oh my goodness. So much of that goes into just being able to overcome those struggles as a online business owner who happens to be a Christian and is trying to live that out in the online
Yes.
marketplace. And I know I heard in one of your podcast episodes you had encountered some negative feedback when sharing a Bible verse. Do you care to tell us about that?
Oh my gosh. So I feel like the last 3 years have made people a little bit different on social media than they would
Mhm.
be normally. I feel like people have gotten really good at being keyboard warriors and kind of attacking people. And there really hasn't been, in my opinion, there's been a lack of seeking to understand, a lack of curiosity, and a lack of conversation. It's just like we just assume. So I put a Bible verse up there. It was something, I don't even remember what it was, but I get in these periods, Sarah, where like I read the Bible and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of tired of that book. And then I catch a verse that somebody else posts and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. And it was something about the left and the right, and somebody made it political, which is not the intent behind it at all. And so then I was attacked for my political views because I posted a Bible verse.
Oh,
And it was from another believer, so that was really hurtful.
yeah.
And it was somebody I knew in real life, so that was even more hurtful. But I
Right.
think that there wasn't like, I think if I had been in the situation of the person and I saw the verse and I questioned it, my response would be to message them and say, hey, I saw this verse. Can you help me understand what you meant by it? But it felt like there was a lot of assumption, a lot of aggression, a lot of like she didn't know who I was. And that kind of hurt me, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
she just assumed that it was something, and that wasn't the case at all. So that
And
was my experience with posting a Bible verse. And it was happened in the last year.
oh, wow. And it's so easy to push that delete button when it's someone we don't know and just forget about it because it's a random person on the internet. But when it's someone you know in real life, and that's part of the risk we take on as online business owners is okay, people in our real lives are going to see this. That's hard because you have to look at them in the face in the grocery store sometimes.
And I guess it just surprised me too. Like, this is a sister in Christ, and I've known her, like, I was in church with her, like, she knows who I am. And so it just, I guess I had to forgive, obviously, but I also had to be like, I wonder what's happening in her life to make her think that way about me, and realize that this has nothing to do with me, but it's more about her and maybe something that she's going through or something that triggered her or she's struggling with. And so pray for her. But man, that was hard.
Yeah, I bet. And talk about struggles that you have to overcome in your business. You had to choose to make more posts after that. You had to choose to keep showing up as a person of faith, even after something that probably felt like, I don't know, every time I encounter conflict on the internet, it feels like my face gets hot and everything's just on fire. It's like, oh, and it feels like the whole world is perceiving this thing. But you had to choose to keep going after that. What was that like?
I was ready to quit. I will be completely honest with you. That was one of those days where I'm like, you know what? I probably just need to stop this. And I did. I gave myself space and time to kind of pause and reflect and say, what is my intention with being on social? What is my goal? Why am I doing this? Is this the most effective thing? And praying it through and journaling, and decided. And I had people speak into my life too. I think that was a big thing, because they were like, I saw what happened. People need you to keep sharing. You need to be that light. So I would encourage you to keep doing it. And I'm like, but I don't want to. So it was kind of like just giving myself space to process. And I think I even typed out a post like, I'm not going to be here. And I think just
Mhm.
to give myself permission to go in that direction was really freeing, because I obviously decided not to. But I think just to like walk through, like, what would happen if I did this? This is what I would say. This is how it would look. Okay, if I make that choice, it's there. But if
Yeah.
not, then that's okay too. So it
Ooh,
was
I
like
love
this
that.
deep work around a social media post.
Yes, but it is. And, in every area of our life, we have to choose to not live in our flesh. And your flesh, everything in you was saying, stop, stop, stop. You're getting negative feedback. This is not fun. This is not enjoyable. But you had to make a choice outside of your flesh and your humanness to say, no, I'm going to keep going. because there's purpose to this, because there are
Okay.
people who need this message. I mean, you think about the prophets of old who had to endure
Mhm.
so many different things
Yes.
to get their message across. And we are not in the same situation on social media, but you can compare those two. And I love that. I just want to applaud you that you focused on forgiveness, you focused on compassion, and you chose to focus on the purpose of what you were doing and not any negative feedback that was coming in.
Thank you. Because that's easy to do, right? And I think that verse, like, I have to go back to, I am not living to please man. I am living to please God. And he has done this in my life. And he's asked me to do this. And until he leads me otherwise, I'm going to keep doing this because that's what he's
Absolutely.
asked of me. And I have to obey him. I don't
Right.
have to care what other people think.
Mhm. Because he's the one we're going to answer to.
Right. Right.
He's the most important opinion, the most important comment we can receive. So, in the spirit of practical strategies, we really went deep there. And now I'm going to be like, give me your top 3 tips. But our next question on our little interview list is, what are some practical strategies and some tips and tools that you've used to help you in your business journey?
Today's show is made possible by the Get Found Online course inside the Grow community. In this 8-week self-paced course, you'll develop a roadmap to getting your business in front of the people who need you most. Utilizing simple and effective content marketing strategy, I'll help you simplify your approach to posting online and get out of the social media rat race by creating a sustainable, simple content marketing approach unique to you that will help you connect to customers for years to come. Plus, when you join the Get Found Online course through my link, you also get access to the entire Grow community and all the incredible resources inside. The Grow community is a business coaching platform created by my friend and mentor, Cassie Kitzmiller. The world tells us that we have to hustle long and hard, manifest success, and follow the internet guru's 3-step plan to those 6 and 7-figure dream days. I was a little sick of hearing all that junk too. And that's why I was so glad when I found Cassie and the community she created inside Grow. It's a different kind of business coaching, focused on growing your business from the peace of the Lord and the heart of a good father, complete with the practical tools, templates, and resources that you need to get your business up and running to those 4-figure months and beyond. If you'd like to learn more about the Get Found Online course inside the Grow community so that you can market your business effectively online and grow your business from the peace of the Lord, head to the link in the description below. I can't wait to see you there.
I think just starting my day the same every day. Like, I realized that I have a really solid morning routine, whether it's a school day for the kids and I'm up early, or it's a weekend and I'm not up as early, but like to wake up, to read my Bible, to pray, to drink my hot lemon water, and really like start my day with him as my focus, I think has been a game changer. I think it's really easy with those attacks coming towards us, as it feels like sometimes with social media posts and criticism or what people say, or, oh, I didn't like your product, or whatever we encounter as entrepreneurs. Like, to have that space and that foundation to start my day just gets me in the right space. So I think that's been something. I think the next thing is giving myself margin and space. I think when I first got started, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm an online business owner and I have to always be online and I have to always be on social and I always have to make a video. And I was like headed towards burnout. And so I think to give myself space, like, I realized that God has made me creative. And when I have downtime, I'm more creative and I have more ideas and I have more thoughts, and he gives me more downloads because I'm not like roaring ahead at 5,000 miles an hour. So I think to
Yes,
give
yes.
myself margin and space is really important. Hmm. Gosh, I
Love
think
that
finding
perspective.
community and prayer, there's so many things.
Yeah. There are so many things that make it easier and so many things that make online business ownership hard. But
Mhm.
like you said, starting your day with God, taking time away from the overwhelm. Because if you look into the world's advice on marketing your business online, on content creation and all that, you could fill your calendar with a bazillion to-do lists. Like they would never, ever, ever be done. But intentionally saying, you know what, Lord, I'm going to give you this time. And I know you're going to give me the ideas for the podcast, for the post. I know you're going to put the book and the Facebook group in front of the woman who needs it today. Trusting Him for that increase and not relying on our own selves it's the key. Like you said, it's so important.
Yeah. And I think too, like the other thing that's been really helpful is acknowledging like this is who God made me to be. This is the gift. This is the talent. This is the call. This is the season of life. And I
Yeah.
think really honoring that and trying to steward it well instead of trying to be somebody else or copying what somebody else is doing or, oh, well, she's doing that. I have to do that too. No, God hasn't asked me to do that. Like, and I think that's maybe where we get a little bit wonky is that we try to do what somebody else is telling us to do or what the world is saying or what
Mhm.
I don't know, social media says instead of being like, okay, God, what have you asked me to do? What's mine to carry?
Yeah, and I bet that is really, really challenging in the fitness space, especially because there are so many maybe less than realistic fitness
Mhm.
influencers who
Yeah.
are living that 22-year-old life and haven't had babies or hormones yet. And more power to them, but so I imagine it would be even more challenging to show up in that space. But I think what you're doing and the way that you're showing up is just so encouraging to see. It's so encouraging to see that you are not giving in to that pull to be something that you're not online. And that goes with how we show up in our aesthetic, with how we show up in our faith. Like that's awesome. Where do you see your business going in the next, I don't know, like long-term vision?
Yeah, I don't know. It's such an interesting question because as I was sharing with you before we started, I've been focusing on women and
Mhm.
I've had a couple of teen clients kind of fall into my lap and I'm like, gosh, I kind of like that. So I don't know if it will be doing something with like moms and daughters of teenagers. I don't know if it will be retreats. I don't know if it will be teens. I don't know. I'm open to whatever the Lord has, but like I have ideas. I have like, ooh, that would be fun. I don't know.
Love
We'll
that. I
see.
just got chills. That's amazing. I teach the teen girls class on Wednesday night at our church, and just the idea that they could be freed from the
Mhm.
diet culture that our world is so saturated with earlier than I was. Like, as a teen, I was doing all the diet things, even though
Mhm.
I didn't need to. Like, I was young, there was no reason. But it's so silly the way the world preaches to these young ladies. And you could kind of step into that space. I love that. Getting to
Thank
them early before the world influences them. That is
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
So tell us where we can connect with you. I want to make sure that we can all follow along and see where your business is going, get that encouragement from you. Where can we find you online?
Yeah, my website is free, the number two, the letter B, coaching.com. And from there, you can see some freebies I have. You can find all my social channels. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest. I think that's it.
Yes, well, we'll link everything in the description. That way, everyone can find it as well. We'll put your site and your Facebook group and all of that good stuff. So, if anyone wants to connect with Melissa, you can go down to the description and click any of those links. You can find her on Facebook, like she said on her website. And be sure to join us in the Branches in Business Facebook group so that we can share our big takeaways from the conversation today, and you can tell us how much you enjoyed hearing from Melissa today. Thank you so much for being with us today, Melissa. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you. I enjoyed our conversation so much.
I think we could do this for days.
Yes, we could. We could sit here and talk for hours.
I know.